Now that is some weird and wild stuff. Events that merit investigation and deep reflection about who we are as citizens and human beings, where we have gone wrong, what substantially we can do to become better. And now, for a detailed and thoughtful analysis, I turn to you, Ed. Your thoughts?
Yes! Sometimes a flux capacitor is not enough to get the job done.
Oh, well, I think we'll need to pray about that and ask your father.
Shut up, Marilyn!
The Mark Roman Empire. Also, a podcast. This week's episode, Kevin Munroe. It's showtime.
And a little show note for you guys. Hi, it's me, Mark. So I am so intelligent, so amazingly skilled at what I do that sometimes, not all the time, but definitely this week, possibly last week, I don't plug my cool little microphone into my recording device. So if it sounds like the introduction and the outro in this week's episode, and possibly last week's episode, like I'm underwater, that sort of thing, that's because I'm not using my cool microphone. I'm using like the laptop, little crappy microphone. So 1,000 pardons, lo siento, my sincerest of apologies. Hey, we're all dealing with the ongoing crisis as best we can, and I fell short here, so sorry about that. But now you know. So, but the interviews, they're all good. About to do another one here that you'll hear in a couple weeks. So that's going to be awesome. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys, and here's the rest of the podcast. Episode 37, dated the 17th of June, 2020. I am the Mark Roman. I am mentally ill. How can I help? Jesus. Each passing week here, it's like, I think we might all be mentally ill now. Just the fucking stress of it all. And the thing is, a lot of this stuff, that's not new. This has been happening like for years, for centuries, for millennia. And I guess we're just, as a culture, as an alleged civilization, crying out, yeah, no more. We can't take it anymore. Which is good, but it's rough to be in the thick of it. But it's better than just, doing what we had been doing, pretending like nothing's wrong. What? Nothing to see here. Yeah, no, cops keep killing. Sorry. I mean, they were wearing uniforms, badges, they get a paycheck from their respective cities, hired specifically to be cops. They belong to a police officers union, and they were caught on camera killing. A lot of them are being prosecuted. So I'm sorry if the phrase killer cops offends you. It's like reality. So, maybe help change that? I don't know. I mean, and the police unions, wow. Their alleged defense of their actions truly demonstrates that as a culture, America does not hire law enforcement to be surgeons or even professors or even like PR flacks for Fortune 500 companies. I mean, wow. They're like not even pretending to give a shit. They're entitled, they're defensive, and they're like, what? This is how we've always done it. If you guys want to be safe, you better know what to do, what's good for you. It's just, oh my God. But people keep marching. I'm probably not going to be marching anytime soon because I want to not get that COVID. Yeah, that's still around. And now more rapists and pedophiles are being charged, or at least called out, allegedly. Here's a question. What's the difference between a presidential candidate, an actor, and a comedian with a special on Netflix? Allegedly. Yeah, let you decide which part. We'll just say it's all allegedly, okay? You know, outside of the fact they are all white dudes, that's not alleged like that. I think we can all agree on that, right? Oh my God. And then why deny when TMZ catches you? You know, he got caught. You know who I'm talking about. I don't need to dignify by saying the name, given what he allegedly did. But oh, when you follow your denial with, and I'm quoting here from TMZ, this is what the alleged comedian said. That being said, I really am truly sorry. I was a dumb guy who absolutely, all caps, let myself get caught up in my lifestyle. That's my fault. I own it. I've been reflecting on this for some time now, and I promise I will continue to do better. Wow. Meanwhile, new allegations are just flooding, ripping through social media. So, like, are they all invented? All these allegations? Writer comedian Naomi Harrigan. Naomi, if I mispronounced your last name, I apologize. I need to get to know you better. You are on Twitter at Blacktress, and you're written for some cool shows too. Broad City, among others. This is Naomi's take. The white privilege it takes to play a pedophile, not once, but twice on television, knowing good and damn well you are a predator in real life. I'm listening. Thank you, Naomi, for fucking enduring this bullshit. Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, we're supposed to respect and be grateful for our respective police departments. Mine would be the LAPD, you know, for how they protect the most vulnerable in town from predators. I mean, look how long Harvey got away with it, which kind of begs the question for even most casual observers, how many are still getting away with it right the fuck now? Too soon to ask? Oh, meanwhile, COVID-19 still has no vaccine, but shops, bars, and restaurants are open. I think you can get your hair cut now. Oh, and masks are clearly, absolutely optional. I mean, that's what I've only witnessed. That's not allegedly. I've seen that with my own eyes. What could go wrong? By the way, 2 black men were lynched. Malcolm Harsh, Robert Fuller. Not suicide, as police and authorities desperately wanted to spin it. Now, they were hung, lynched in Southern California in 2020. Yeah, no, after everyone got a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and marched in the streets. How exactly did the police serve Malcolm Harsh and Robert Fuller? How exactly did the police protect Malcolm Harsh and Robert Fuller? Because that's why we hire and pay the police, right? To serve and to protect, right? Is that right? Black people are getting killed. Kids are being assaulted and raped. Yeah, police are doing a great job. Wow. You know, if police got paid profits based on performance the way Fortune 500 companies did, just think about that for a second. Am I the first to make that comparison? Ask why, like what the hell? Oh my God. Hey, did I mention this podcast is classified as comedy? Hey, I'll find it someday. I'm grateful to the Montalban Theater, right across the street from my neighborhood, Trader Joe's, and they get up on the marquee right now. Together we con, live long and prosper. Thank you, Montalban. I sure hope so. It's a beautiful promise Star Trek made. Maybe one of these days. Maybe. Comedian and actor Kevin Munroe is on the pod today. He's the other half of the Showtime and Kev podcast. We heard from Cory Showtime Robinson with a full interview on episode 2, and in episode 25, the pandemic check-ins part 1. Now it's Kevin's turn. More about Kevin in a minute. Mental health is not an awareness thing for 1 month out of the year. I personally struggle with PTSDs, depression, and have history of suicide ideation. Maybe the pandemic and quarantine these last several months hit you hard. Maybe you're homeless, one of the many who just became. Yeah, those new stats are not very encouraging here in LA. Or maybe you're about to become homeless. A lot of people are on the brink right now. Maybe fellow humans treat you as less than human, to the point where you might believe it yourself. Maybe you worry about how the police might kill you in your sleep, in your car, or in your own bed, in your own home. These are all serious threats to our health and well-being. Overwhelming? Yeah, that kind of puts it mildly. But our mental health is important and valid. Whatever is messing with your head, you are not alone, and help is always available. Get immediate support 24/7. Reach out to the crisis text line by texting SEIZE, that's SEIZE, to 741-741, or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. It's free, and everything you tell them is confidential unless it's essential to contact emergency services to keep you or your friend safe. Now, there are other resources that might be more specific and helpful to you. I'm sharing what's worked for me and my experience. Bottom line, stick around. We need you. What you're feeling right now has a lot to do with the fact that you're probably a lot more sensitive than other people. And it's exactly for that reason that we need to make the world a slightly less horrific place with you. Your feelings actually are really key and crucial to that effort. So ask for help. Call 1-800-273-8255. Not only helping yourself, but there's other people feeling just like you, and you can help them out too. But sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes we need the help. It's okay to ask for help. We all need help. We're all kind of messed up, in case you hadn't noticed. Thanks to all listeners across the globe, all of you enduring my allegedly funny podcast here lately. I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And I see specifically Warsaw in Poland, Basel in Switzerland, Berlin in New Jersey, Melbourne in the Australia, and Citrus Heights. That's in California, Northern California, right outside Sacramento. Yeah, probably someone I went to school with at Placer High. Go Hillman. And stuff. Hey, you can listen to the podcast on many platforms. That's right, this one you're listening to right now. Don't forget to rate and review us on the one you're using. For all your listening choices, go to markromanempire.com, click listen. Got questions? I got answers. They may not be good answers, but that never stopped Dr. Phil, did it? Email your questions to me at romanpodmail@gmail.com. And I might answer them on the podcast. Who knows? RomanPodmail@gmail.com. We've done it in the past. We'll do it in the future. Now, if you'd like more podcasts, support it. Instead of pleasing advertisers, I'd rather just be me, okay? I gotta be me. If you dig what I do, there's a few ways to support me. Tip jars. Sure, if you happen to see me in person, you can hand me cash. I don't even know what cash looks like anymore. Big thanks, by the way, to Rose Bowl UCLA Bruins fans who did just that. These friends of Lieutenant Frank brought me cash and groceries when I needed it the most at the height of the first wave of the pandemic. So they kind of risked their lives there, and I'm grateful to them for that. But you can support me without leaving your home. Your Venmo, Cash App, or even PayPal makes a big difference. MarkRomanEmpire.com, click tip jar. On SoundCloud, there's a link to my Venmo there as well. Look for the blue support Mark Roman Empire button. Hey, did you like that cold open? My Patreon patrons got to listen to it early. That's right. They heard Johnny and Ed and Doc. It's one of the perks for my Patreon patrons. That's right. Mark Roman Empire is on Patreon. The citizen patron level is only $5 a month. Hey, that's less than the cost of a cup of macchiato a day, or frappuccino, or whatever Eno or Otto you need in your life. And citizen patrons, they paid only once a month. Other levels are coming soon. I'm getting to it. All right. Learn more at patreon.com/Mark Roman Empire. Cops is canceled. I blame Reno 911 for making fun of cops. Oh, look at that. LAPD is coming after me. Can you hear that? What you gonna do? 7 years ago, my Lieutenant Frank took a page from Reno 911, added a Barbie walkie and rainbow tactical leg warmers, and started walking tall in his own way. Lieutenant Frank has done 43 personalized short videos on the celebrity shout-out platform Cameo. Father's Day is nearly here. If you'd never given the dad you knew in your life a piece of your mind, now you can put words in Lieutenant Frank's mouth. Have him do it for you. Like a football tailgate fan of Lieutenant Frank did for his grandpa earlier this week. Or have Lieutenant Frank roast your friends. Surprise that person for whom you can never find the right kind of gift. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, deliver a unique happy birthday message too, or whatever. Have some fun with it. It's only $10, so hurry. Get a few cameos from Lieutenant Frank before the price increases. And I might do that next week. I don't know. It's kind of feeling like the time. Cameo.com/Vegas90210. Hero tier. I coined the word, and it's my cause. Are you a hero tier? We've been helping house Venka and Will since December 2019. We've been helping creatives since St. Patrick's Eve 2020. Our current hero tier mission is to bring Venka and Will housing stability. They now have a home, Section 8 housing in Oakland, but they are physically and emotionally recovering from over a year and a half of living in a car. Recently, Venka was seeking surgery for her bleeding eye, one of many health issues she continues to struggle with after having a stroke over a few years ago. And that bleeding eye has definitely obstructed her vision, as one can imagine. Hero Tier will continue to help them keep their new home and recover from their traumas. Venka will tell us when she's back on her feet. And when she is, there's certainly quite a few new people in Los Angeles who need a home. Hero Tiers end homelessness one human at a time. And only Hero Tiers can win cool prizes in the weekly Cards for Hero Tiers game on our YouTube channel, Mark Roman Empire on YouTube. We played Cards for Hero Tiers 14 on Monday. Hero Tier green light carpet cleaning won an autographed Mark Roman photo. You can't even buy those. And they won one. Next week's Cards for Hero Tiers prize is a surprise prize. And we'll tease the next episode of the podcast. Watch Cards for Hero Tiers number 15 this coming Monday. Mark Roman Empire on the YouTube for that. Follow Hero Tier on Instagram at Hero Tiergram. We need 3,000 to ensure housing security for Venka, Will, and their puppy Andy. We found 51 Hero Tiers since December. Who's next? Leave no human outside. Whether you need help or can offer help or just curious, visit herotier.org to discover more. Kevin Munroe. Kevin is a Trinidad-born comedian and actor based here in Los Angeles. He began performing stand-up comedy in San Francisco while working as a software engineer. He's a nerd, yeah. And after placing in local comedy competitions, he walked away from Silicon Valley. Good for him. He's a regular at major comedy clubs and theaters nationwide. Remember those? Kevin has worked with top talent, including Tracy Morgan, Paul Mooney. Oh my God, I love Paul Mooney. Eddie Pepitone, and I adore Eddie Pepitone. Loni Love and W.Kamau Bell. He hasn't done half bad for himself. You can see him on CNN. W.Kamau Bell, not Kevin Munroe yet. Hey, let's get to know the other half of the Showtime and Kev podcast in my conversation with Kevin Munroe.
It's just funny when you say it that way. It really does sound like like you should be like fanning yourself while you say it, like Jesus on a cracker. Oh, bless your heart. Oh my goodness.
Right, Kevin? And it's sorry for our listeners, we cut off. I pulled a Mark Maron here. I didn't let on exactly when I started the recording, but I said right before the recording started, I said, Jesus on a cracker. It's my little technical difficulties here. So, yeah. So, Kevin, your take is almost Southern white woman, right? Which is not very far off the mark, I got to be honest.
Well, are you Southern?
I'm not, but I'm particularly I do the Lieutenant Frank character, which actually turns 7 years old on the 1st of June.
Okay.
I just realized that I guess my Lieutenant Frank is as old as Black Lives Matter.
Well, okay. Where are you from though? Like, do you have experience living in the South?
Oh, barely.
Huh. Okay.
Like I grew up in Northern California, Auburn. Have you ever heard of Auburn?
Yeah, I did a really terrible show there a couple of years ago. It was pretty funny. It's close to Rosewood.
Really?
It's close to Rosewood. For I did a show out there. It was also terrible.
Wow. No, okay, we got to start right there, Kevin. I got to know about the show you did in Auburn because I grew up there and I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of Dodge. And by Dodge, I mean Auburn, California, outside Sacramento.
I don't.
Nice rest stop. So tell me, what was your experience in Auburn like? And then we'll get back to the usual one-on-one, how you grew up, all that sort of thing. So Auburn, you're in Auburn.
Well, it was a comedy competition at a bar,
right?
And it was, of course, I'm the only black person there. Okay, fine, that happens. A lot of times, a lot of times on the road, like you show up at a gig and you're like, yo, I'm the only black person here. This I don't know how this is gonna go, but let's rock. But let's rock with it.
Because I'm a very white guy, as you can tell.
Right. But it's one of those things where it's one of those things where you go and you go like, this can go like really well, or this can go really sideways real quick. But as a comic, because like, you have that. No, it's not really. You have that instinct anyway. As a comic, you're like, I'm gonna try to take this room. I'm gonna try to bust their ass and like get them. So it's a comedy competition where like I forget like what the prize was, like $100 or something stupid like that. And then what happened was, I did it. I had a good set. It was cool, and other people had good sets. And then there was this ringer that came in, a comic I knew because I worked with him because I featured for him at one point, and he came in and did a set, and I was like, why is this dude doing this amateur comedy competition? This dude's been on television. Like, the fix is in, obviously. Like, why is this guy here? And of course, that guy won. And we're like, well, dude, like, I've seen you on BT's Comic View. Like, what are you doing in an amateur comedy competition in Auburn?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh, this is some bullshit. We need to get out of here. But I mean, the thing with towns like Auburn or Rosewood or Napa or, it's like they're actually.
Wait, hold on. You're saying Rosewood? Do you mean Roseville?
Sorry, Roseville, not Rosewood. Rosewood is a movie.
Although,
yeah.
I don't think you're far off. I gotta be honest. It's someone who grew up in Auburn. I'm like, it's a different zip code outside of that.
but it's not too far off. But we did shows in Modesto and Stockton and places like that where
damn.
There's not a lot of black people, and so there's this weird dynamic where, like, on the one hand, like, they have all these ridiculous, like, racist ideas about black people, but on the other hand, they're excited to see anything different. So they're like,
Wow.
tell us your story, you know? So it's one of those things like, yeah, this will work. Get your money, start the car. Keep the car running.
See, okay, the difference is like when I've done stand-up comedy, like the worst thing that's going to happen is that people are going to boo me. Like that's as bad as it's going to get. It's not, the worst thing that can happen is that I walk outside and someone beats me up or worse. Like that's never even in my mind as a possibility. It's just like, oh, fuck, I hope I don't suck. That would be a nightmare, you know? So I can't even imagine what it's like
to be like,
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Like I remember we did a show in Stockton, and in the middle of the set, this guy heckled me. He was like, "You look like Tiger Woods," and I was like, "I don't look like Tiger Woods, but I
right."
sure."
And that's a heckle. That's your best heckle.
Yeah. And I was
you
like,
think I'm the best golfer in the world? Thanks. Like,
yeah, but I'm doing comedy. But I'm somehow doing comedy in fucking fucking Stockton. But my fireback was, I really wish I had a 2 club right now. And that didn't go down so well. So that was another one of those shows where it's like, yeah, okay, get the money, start the car.
Seriously. Damn.
Trust me. You know what? I promise you. As a comic, those are some of the best, worst gigs ever. Like I'm a perverse. I love those stories. I love those things happening because
they're good as stories. You hate like living through the experience, but yeah, as a comic, you're thinking, "Fuck, this really sucks. I might die right now, but
this shit is funny as a motherfucker."
Oh my god,
we're sick. We're sick. We're sick people.
We are damaged, diseased. Well, that's the thing. Like everyone who goes into comedy, like you just know, or I should say, not goes into, sticks with. Because I took kind of a different route. I started in stand-up. That's how I actually met Cory. Because you and I, we haven't actually met in person, which I would remember because I'm 6 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
You're 6 inches taller than me, aren't you? You're 6'6", right?
Yep.
You're as tall as George Floyd.
Yep. By the way, how long have you been doing comedy?
Fair question. So I started doing open mics and stuff like that. Like I think I met most of my comics that I know, friends, at Tommy T's in Pleasanton.
Tommy T's, oh yeah. I've done shows there. I did. I did a Tommy T's San Francisco. Remember that?
No, that was maybe before or after my time in, because I was in the Bay Area in the 2000s. And then I came down to LA in like 2009, 2010, right around there. Okay. So I don't know. When was Tommy T's San Francisco? Was that after?
That was like the mid to like 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
around that
I was
time.
already down here in LA.
Okay, so you missed Tommy T's San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a show at Tommy T's San Francisco, and it was fucking hilarious. Where
was that?
It was on Van Ness and Gary. So there's a movie theater. The movie theater on Van Ness and Gary. Like if you go upstairs, there's a little restaurant bar thing in there, and they made Tommy T San Francisco, and this was a debacle because Tommy T's is mostly like catering to Black comedians and a Black audience, and for Black people to come all the way across the bridge and pay $20 for parking and come, like you're asking a lot for people. And I did a show. It's
like asking Oakland Raiders fans to go to Candlestick for a Raiders thing.
No, worse than that. It's asking Oakland Raiders fans to go to Santa Clara. Like
the Rooster Teeth brothers, right?
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're gonna go all the way across the bridge and pay $20 for parking to watch whoever. So we did.
How many weeks did that last?
It was a couple months. We knew it was a wrap when we showed up to do the show, and there were more wait staff than people in the audience.
Ooh, when the wait staff for the audience, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. When they started giving us free shots of Hennessy, free shots of Tito's and vodka, and we're like, y'all just giving away the alcohol? Oh, that means y'all just trying to shut down right now. And
seriously.
Y'all don't give a fuck.
Right? You're giving away the good stuff, not the well stuff. What's going on here? How long is this going to last?
Yeah, you giving me the Henny, not the
right.
You know,
like what did I do? I just showed up, you know.
Yeah. Giving me free Hennessy, not Mr. Popov, the fake vodka and the plastic bottles. You're not doing that.
Oh my God! You can already feel the hangover headache as you look. You haven't even drunk it yet. You haven't even opened it. You haven't even smelled the vapor, and you're like, okay, I'm going to feel really awful tomorrow. I can already feel it.
Yeah, the Mr. Popov is like the Mad Dog 2020 of vodkas. Like, it's just like like people buy that shit with spare change. Okay, like nobody buys that with like paper. Nobody buys Mr. Popov with paper money.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Oh my God.
So let me ask you this. So what was your experience at Tommy T's? And by the way, for people listening, Tommy T's is out in Walnut Creek. It's a mostly black comedy club. They tend to book black comics.
Pleasanton, it's south. It's south on the 680 from Walnut Creek. But you know what? I'm splitting hairs. Pleasanton, Walnut Creek. What exactly is the difference? You know.
So, what was your experience being a white comic doing Tommy T's?
You know what is funny is that I did not realize that it was considered a black club. Because I've met like Sammy Obeid there.
Okay.
To me, I was just like, it was diversity that growing up in Auburn, California, I'd never seen. And I just thought, like, I fondly remember watching Chappelle's show in its heyday with my son when he was of an age, like grade school, where people would be like, I don't know, that's kind of adult humor. He's a little young for that. I'm like, oh, fuck no. My son's going to watch real good comedy.
He's going to know.
You know. Yeah.
Right.
And that's like, so to me, and like, I actually went to the San Francisco Comedy College for a hot minute. And the guy who ran that actually used to tour with Bill Hicks. And,
okay.
So, there's all these stories about, back then it was like, Richard Pryor was like the guy. So in stand-up.
Okay. So you didn't
I didn't perceive Tommy T's as a black club. I just perceived it as like a comedy club.
Okay. Yeah. So you did. So it wasn't like a thing, like I'm going to do this black club. You just do it.
No, to me, it was like, that was, if you can't go to the city, like that was the closest in the East Bay. That was like probably the closest to, because I was in Walnut Creek most of the time back then. To me, that was the comedy club. Like there'd be other little small things like rooms, barely, but to me, Tommy T's was like a legit comedy club. I fucking saw Darren Carter, the party starter, there. So I mean, come on, it doesn't get whiter than Darren Carter.
Yeah, but he
had a whole Snoop Dogg set. He's actually, Snoop Dogg hired him for like his birthday party or something. Darren Carter, of all people.
Yeah, so, because he knows how to play that game, So I mean, I mean, him and there's a couple of other comics like Nemo Williams, a couple other white comics that have played like the black circuit. And it's not that they're pandering to black people, but they know. But they get on stage and they're not like, oh shit, it's all black people. What do I do now? Right. And I think that's what like a lot of white comics are, that's what they're stuck on right now. Like if they get on stage and the audience is black, They're like, I'm a white guy. What do I do? You know, so
it's just not a comfort there.
Yeah, exactly. But Darren Carter and people like that, it was just like, I've been doing this for like years. I don't care. You know? but I mean, the Tommy T San Francisco thing was hilarious to me because I got hired to do a show there because I was doing Tommy T's out in Pleasanton, and it was supposed to be Eddie Griffin, and
nice,
yeah, and you know. In a way, you're like, how is Eddie Griffin, you know, national headliner, you know, movie star, you know, right. Like, how is he doing this little club right now? Like, why would he do that? This guy should be doing, you know, like stadiums. Like, why is he in this? So it felt like a scam, like right out the gate. And so it was me. So it was me. It was Phil Johnson. Phil, I don't know if you know who Phil Johnson is. He's a white guy.
I don't know if I ever met him. Yeah, I think we're friends on Facebook, but you know, he's got long hair. He kind of looks like the hippie in that old British show, The Young Ones. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, long hair, wears a red shirt all the time, has a guitar, does like funny guitar song comedy or whatever. Yeah. And like we show up and I do my set, and then I go in the green room, and then the host, I totally forget who the host is. Like, are you guys ready for Eddie Griffin? Yeah. And it's like an all black audience. Are you ready for Eddie Griffin? Yeah. And they're like, well, Eddie Griffin isn't here. So we're going to give you the musical stylings of Phil Johnson.
What? What? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we're in the green room. And this is what I told. This is what I was saying earlier. There was nothing funny
ever.
There's nothing funnier than watching one of your good comedy friends just bomb,
right?
And it's not his fault, and it's totally not his fault, not at all.
It's our disease, our sickness. We're like, what? Like, where's the popcorn? You know?
They set him up to fail. So we're in the green room going like, because we know all his material. And we know, we know all the stuff that works. So he's going through his songs and stuff, and we're listening, and we're like, this motherfucker's bombing! Oh my God! Oh my God! We're gonna clown this motherfucker after he gets off stage.
Oh my God!
You see that shit? Like he did, like I know his hour. Like at the time, like he has a different hour now. But
it's an hour that works, that he's performed successfully in front of audiences, and there's laughs, and he gets hired as a professional comedian to perform that exact set, and yet,
and here he is, and he did his hour in 30 minutes. We're dying. We are dying. Like, oh my God, he's rushing through that song. He skipped that.
Oh my God,
it's hilarious. And I mean, you could ask him. You could ask him about Tommy T San Francisco and ask him about this story. It happened. It happened. Ask him about it. And I'm sorry that I laughed so hard in the green room, but it was like we were dying.
No, you're not. And you know what? No honest comedian is sorry either. We're all laughing.
Okay, I take it back. I wasn't sorry.
Any comedian listening to this right now is laughing. They're like, yes. And they're remembering the times they've been in that position, laughing at a Phil on stage with his guitar, just dying. Yeah. It's what we do. It's our disease, right?
No, it's not like we're being shitty people. Like, it's not like we're laughing at people that are bad at comedy. We know they're good. We just know that they've been set up to fail, and they have to, and they have to do their time to get the money. When you're working, you can't get. Like when I was opening and when I was featuring, you have to do your time. When I was opening, you have to do 15 minutes. When I was featuring, you have to do 30 minutes. Otherwise, you don't get paid. So
that's the deal. Yeah.
Even if you're bombing your ass off, you have to walk through that.
Right. You clocked in.
Yep. And there's that moment. There's a moment, you're bombing so bad where the only laugh you're hearing is from the comedians in the back.
yeah. And the green room's in the basement, three stories down. You're like, and you can still hear them. You're like, oh fuck.
You hit the punchline. There's no laughs, and then you hear like a fading thing in the back. That's when you know, you motherfuckers, I'm coming for you after this shit is over.
You got no cell signal on your phone, but you can still hear through all the.
You can hear it, and it's a distant laugh, and it's not like a ha. It's not a
it haunts you.
It's a
it haunts you. Right.
It's so great. I wouldn't trade it for anything, man.
Well, that makes sense when you understand who comics are, because we take pain and we transform it into something funny.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean I've been doing Zoom shows now about all the situations that are happening right now, and I had to throw away all my old material because what people are feeling right now is so different. Like there's no way I could do the old material. Like so I went to a bar and went on a Tinder date, and
what's a bar?
It's all like all that shit has to be thrown away. Right. I mean, I've been doing some Zoom shows, and I've had to just like readjust and change everything to like keep it real with people.
Seriously.
So I mean,
I want to ask you about Zoom shows in a sec. I want to get back to you asked me about my stand-up experience. I just want to ask that real quick. I started Tommy T's, but then I got sucked into background acting, and I'm like, wait, they pay you to just show up, and what do you say? Oh, you don't say anything, and they feed you too. I'm like, what? And they pay you? They're like, yes. And then I like talk to comics that had been around for a while. I'm like, okay, so when my comedy game gets to a certain level, what happens? Like, well, if you're lucky, maybe after you open, maybe you can middle, and maybe you'll make $50. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So when is that going to happen? Well, a real comic, it takes about 8 years to really for them to find their voice. And I'm like, 8 years? So I went up into acting, and then I got sucked down into LA, and then I just did a bunch of background acting. So like I'm longing to, and then I started this Lieutenant Frank character 7 years ago, which is really doing like a Don Rickles routine.
Okay.
Roasting strangers while wearing this ridiculous, slightly Reno 911 inspired costume that includes women's short shorts and rainbow tactical leg warmers. So I'm literally roasting people in public.
How's that working out for you?
It's actually worked out great. I've actually been on the cover of one of Bill Burr's Driving with Bill.
Oh, okay. So it is working out.
Yeah.
All right.
I've issued citations to people like Joe Jonas and Kelly Osbourne, David Spade. What else? We got hired by Ray Donovan on HBO or on Showtime to be that character. It didn't make the final cut, but like I got paid a SAG-AFTRA rate to be that character on Hollywood Boulevard, and some other stuff. So yeah, it's
So now all this stuff is kind of gone right now. Like what do you think is going to turn the machine back on? Like what do you think? Like how do you think actors like yourself are going to get back into the game? Like how do you think that's going to happen?
That's a really interesting question. I just paid my SAG dues with my Angelino card, which are you familiar with the Angelino card?
No, what's that?
It's one of the LA programs. It's one of the few things that actually Garcetti's doing kind of all right. It's basically rent assistance. It's like you apply for it. And since I'm still waiting for my
so it's welfare basically.
Oh, it's totally welfare. Yeah, it's welfare.
Are you on welfare, sir?
Yes, I am.
Are you buying?
Yes, I am.
Are you buying steaks and knocking up women? You welfare recipient.
You know, because that's what welfare recipients do.
Buying steaks and knocking up ladies. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Exactly. I am a welfare queen. Yes.
You're driving a Cadillac with a
what
mid
else?
with the mink coat.
Hey, I spent a decade just outside Detroit. I know what to drive.
Oh, Detroit. Okay, now that's interesting. So you're from the Midwest.
No, I'm from Northern California, and I so desperately wanted to get the fuck out of Auburn that I thought it'd be a good idea to go to Hillsdale College, just above the Indiana-Ohio border, due south of Lansing, and about an hour and a half southwest of Detroit.
In the state of Michigan. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then I ended up spending a decade there.
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting to me about Midwest people and Midwest comics is that, like, I'm so used to hearing the opinions of California people, California comics, that having Midwest comic friends going on their Facebook timelines and reading what their friends, family are writing right now. It's yo, son, what the fuck have they said? I didn't know white people were like this. What is this? Yo! I mean, to me, like, that's what's fascinating about Midwestern people is like, well, Midwestern comics, because they give me an entry into what Midwestern people think. And it's so, like, far away from California. It's so different.
Yeah, it's well, the whole the canard, the myth of, like, you know, the good, hardworking small town in the Midwest, the heartland, motherhood, apple pie. Like, I spent a decade there. It's bullshit. There's so much more. Oh yeah, there's so much more shady shit going on and passive aggressive, just under the surface bullshit going on.
Like give me an example.
No, I mean,
he's like, I don't want to out my family. I don't want to out my family.
It's funny you say that, because I was actually on a Zoom family reunion a few weeks ago, and, you know, organized by one of my aunts. And I'm looking at all my cousins and nieces and nephews, and all I see are white people. Now, mind you, there's like wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends. So it's like there was an opportunity to kind of diversify the crew. You know what I mean? And I'm just looking around. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, my extended family is so fucking white. And it was like,
Jesus Christ on a cracker. All puns intended.
That's right. Thank you for the callback to the Southern woman that I really am.
I've done a call.
Bless your heart, Kevin.
I haven't done a callback in 3 months. I was dying for that.
You're welcome. That's why I brought you on the podcast. It's not because I had your cohort with what's your podcast? Showtime and Kev podcast, right?
Yeah, the Showtime and Kev podcast. And the way that started was Cory and I, we get on the phone and we talk for hours about all kinds of things.
This is Cory Showtime Robinson, who's been on the podcast. He was like one of my first podcast guests, one of the first 5. And his episode is like still in the top 5 most listened to of
really?
all.
I'll have to go listen to it. But
yeah.
you know,
and then I had him on in the pandemic roundtable that we had a couple of weeks ago when I started the podcast back up. So he's been on actually twice. And actually, I was meaning to have you on like a year ago, but then we had budget cuts and we had to pause the podcast. So I'm glad to finally have you on, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. At the time, there's a lot going on. I had a tree fall on my car.
Fuck.
And I mean, I don't know, like, what kind of bizarre, like, tragedy of the gods kind of thing needs to happen where a tree falls in your car. But it happens. And I was
seriously, that's so random. What happened? No, we got to know the story now.
This is not a story. A tree fell on my car.
This is real life.
Yeah, I was working at history. When you called me about doing the podcast a year ago, I was working at Disney. And
nice. Or was it? Is it nice to work for Disney? Or can you say? Did you sign a legal document? I understand.
I got nothing to say.
I understand.
I got nothing to say. Yeah, but it was just so ridiculous. Like I was working at Disney as a contractor, and then like this tree fell on my car, and you called me. You were like, "Yeah, we should do this. We should, have a conversation." And then I was just like, "Look, I'm just trying to figure out how to get this fucking tree off my car."
I remember that.
I could send you pictures of the tree on my car. I mean, it was just this insane.
You know what? I think you're going to have to now, because I always throw a few pictures and it's usually like promo pictures of people doing stand up with a mic with, the Laugh Factory or the Comedy Store behind us. But for your page, for this episode, we got to have a picture of your assassinated vehicle.
yeah. I'll send you a picture of the tree on my car.
Do it.
But I mean, just kind of like backtracking to the whole, like, seeing your Midwestern people and they're all being white. I mean, this is a thing I'm trying to like write about, is that the reason all this is happening is there's no reason as a white person to change anything. I mean, it's you could just you can choose to pay attention or not. You know what I mean? If you choose to not pay attention, nothing happens in your life. You still live in your fucking cul-de-sac with your children.
There's no consequences.
Yeah, there's no reason to pay attention, and that's why I'm like, it's not that white people are terrible. It's just that the society is set up that there's no reason for you to be a good person. You could be a terrible person, and there's still no consequences. So this is what it is. I mean, like I wrote this whole thing today about how, like, in 1992, I was a freshman in college at UC Santa Barbara, and the Rodney King tape came out, and it was a camcorder tape. Because no one had cell phones back then. Camcorder tape, right? With the numbers on the bottom, like
exactly. They had the little viewfinder, the flip viewfinder that you had to pull out and not break because it's all plastic. Yeah. And we were like, "Yo, we got him now. It's on tape now." And and we marched around Isla Vista and Santa Barbara, going like, "Oh yeah, we got him on tape." And that was 1992. That was 28 years ago. And think of everything that happened since then. Think of Oscar Grant. Think of Eric Garner. Think of everything that's happened. Like once a week or once a day now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I've been for the last 30 years of like my adult life in America, I've seen this shit happen over and over again. And so what I was trying to explain to people is that you can't be cynical about this. Like, things can change. And the reason
I sure hope so.
No, it's going to change. It's going to change. And the reason I believe it's going to change is because all of these progressive white protesters are out in the street right now, and they're getting their asses beat by the police.
Yes. Oh my God. I saw you post about that on Facebook. You're right. I'm in Trader Joe's yesterday, and I saw a Black Lives Matter t-shirt for the first time at Trader Joe's in Hollywood. And you know who was wearing it?
Who?
A bearded white dude.
Yeah, they're getting it now because they're getting shot in the fucking face now. I mean...
Right? And it's not just journalists. It's like 75-year-old grandpas who've been like civil rights advocates since like the 60s. And the cops just push him over. And he's bleeding on the ground. And all the cops just walk right over him. And all us white people go, "Oh no, they just pushed grandpa over. They're assaulting grandpa. They're assaulting Santa Claus. Oh my God." Exactly. The outrage.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're like,
we got skin in the game, literally. Our skin is bleeding now. So we're like, oh, it's not just black people. Okay. The police hate all of us.
Yeah, they'll do this to you too. They will.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, and that's like to me, if you look at the 1960s, like race riots and stuff like that, it was all black people in the streets.
Right.
And maybe like one or two like civil rights white attorneys. And, but now it's all these young white people. It's like, yo, you a young white person, you're broke, you're unemployed, and the police are beating you with impunity.
Right.
Welcome to the fucking party.
Right, exactly. Welcome to our world, white people.
Yeah, welcome to the party, bro.
Yeah.
But seriously, as a foreigner, I mean, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and I came to America as a teenager.
It's like 34 minutes in, and we're finally getting to what we normally.
well, fine.
But that's normal because we're comedians. There's a bunch of comic shop talk we had to do. So yeah. And I want to thank you because I am so white that when I was a kid, one of my hobbies was stamp collecting. Yes, I'm admitting this.
That's not a white thing.
That's where I first heard of. I kind of feel like it might. Did you collect stamps?
Philately.
Were you a stamp collector?
Yes, the correct term is philately.
You're right. So you were so we're fellow philatelists. We're fellow philatelists, right?
No, I just like puns. Philately will get you nowhere, which is a dumb pun.
Oh my God! You did not just do that. Wow, that happened. Oh my God!
I don't give a fuck. I'm doing puns now. I'm doing puns. Anyway.
Right? That's a fair point, right?
What do we have to lose at this point? Let's just get it all out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so ask me about my background, where I come from, and all this stuff, and how I came into comedy.
Well, I want to know because my first experience of Trinidad and Tobago is postage stamps that said Trinidad and Tobago on them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you actually. I feel like I've met someone before, but from Trinidad and Tobago. Now, is Trinidad and Tobago, those are two separate islands, right? Or is it the same place?
No,
I've never been there.
There are two islands. It was a British colony, and in 1900, they incorporated Tobago, which is
British.
The tinier island, into the mix. And that's why we're Trinidad and Tobago. But you'll see this all the time in the Caribbean. St. Kitts and Nevis, the Lesser Antilles, the Bahamas, they're all mixes of islands, So that's how that works.
The Lesser Antilles.
Yes.
Which suggests there's a Greater Antilles.
Yes, there's a Greater Antilles. There's St. Kitts and Nevis. There's all kinds of mixes of islands. When I came to America in 1989, I came to America from Trinidad to Oakland.
That's when I graduated from high school, 1989.
Okay. Where did you graduate from high school?
Placer High School, home of the Hillman in Auburn.
Okay.
Outside Sacramento.
Oh, it's in Sacramento. Oh my God.
Outside Sacramento. Yeah.
Jeez.
Like if you're going to go skiing from the Bay Area, you drive through Sacramento, you drive through Roseville, and then shortly thereafter, you see an In-N-Out Burger and a Marie Callender's. Guess what? That's Highway 49. You turn one way, you go to the In-N-Out Burger. You turn the other way, a few blocks away, Placer High School. But if you can't stay on I-80 in a couple hours, you're in Tahoe.
I love Tahoe. I've been in Tahoe a lot of times. I mean, I skied in Tahoe for years. I used to go
North Shore, South Shore. What's your preference?
Huh?
North Shore or South Shore? What's your preference to go skiing in Tahoe?
I like them both. I like South Lake Tahoe. I like Kirkwood. I liked Squaw Valley. I liked. I like Kirkwood because it's kind of small and kind of like really funny to ski at. But we stay in North Lake Tahoe because you cross the border and go right into the cheesy fucking casinos, and like you win like $30 and like buy your lift tickets with that money afterwards.
Right? Exactly.
It was so stupid. You're like, oh yeah, I won $30. Fuck you, I'm a millionaire. But I've pretty much done all the spots in Tahoe. I'm just trying to think. Definitely. Squaw Valley was a big one. I remember like they'd have night skiing and they'd have like one run open, and you'd be on the lift drinking a beer, and you're like, "Is this legal?" Like, like how are we drinking on a lift in the middle of the night? And So
That's awesome.
and it's also funny being a person from the Caribbean that learned how to ski.
Right?
Like, I mean, people like, why are you here? I'm like, cause. I mean, nobody told me I couldn't. like that's
Right,
kind
right.
of mentality I had. It was like, and the thing is, my younger brother, he's a lifty, at not at Squaw Valley, but at Heavenly, and
Oh,
like,
yeah, okay.
and he teaches people how to ski and snowboard and all this stuff.
Nice.
And that's we're just. I mean, my family's like that because we're from a different country, and nobody told us that it was weird for Black people to ski or snowboard or surf or any of that shit. like we didn't.
Do you surf?
Yeah, I got a
I need
9.
to learn how to surf.
I got a 9.0 and a 9.6 in my closet right now.
Yeah, let's go surfing sometime. But I don't know how to surf. Can you do that?
Well, you have to take some lessons.
Can you endure that? Should I get some instruction first?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, so you won't drown. I mean, the first thing they have to teach you is that you can't, you have to learn how to swim.
Point.
If you can't
Good
swim,
point.
if you can't swim 50 meters, you should not be in the water at all. Because you're going to lose your board and you're going to be
Right.
out there. You can't swim 50 meters to get back to the
Kevin, I'm going to tell you right now, and I've never seen you swim, but I'm fairly confident that you're a superior swimmer than I, and that I could put in a lot of time and effort, and you will remain at your current skill level a superior swimmer to me. The hardest part of me becoming an Eagle Scout was getting my swimming merit badge. True story.
Well, you lived inland. Like, why would you know how to swim? Like, I lived in a Caribbean island in the water. Of course I know how to swim.
Okay, I'll take that. Fair point.
When I came to America and people would say stuff like Black people can't swim, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I've swam my entire life. What are you talking about? We live on an island. Like, what on earth?
Now, have you ever gotten people who think that just because of the color of your skin, they automatically assume that you're either of African from descent or literally from Africa?
Yeah. I mean, which is fine. I mean, you can't really tell. I mean, sometimes people have asked me from Africa because they can tell I have a bit of an accent, but
right,
the vast majority of people have asked me, do I play basketball?
Because you're tall. Because you're tall. You're tall while Black. So, of course, you play basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I get that more than anything. One of my favorite.
Do you? Now that you broach the subject, do you play basketball? Because you ski, you swim, you surf, but you don't play basketball.
No. I mean, in Trinidad, people don't play basketball. Like, everybody plays either soccer or cricket. Yeah.
Yeah. He's British.
Yeah, do I have to and trying to explain cricket to Americans is fucking hilarious. You're like, oh, so it's like baseball, but not really. like that's as far as most Americans get. Like, try to wrap their heads around cricket.
All right, well, explain for people who have no idea what cricket is, and I don't know, CNN soundbite, 30 seconds or less. What the hell is cricket?
Okay. Cricket is a game where you have these things called wickets, where you throw the ball at the wickets.
Wickets.
Yes.
Which part of the Shire are the wickets from?
See that? Yeah.
I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm trying to get some context here. You know.
I sound like I'm explaining the Lord of the Rings, aren't I? Right? No, the wickets are these.
Maybe you are. I don't know. We're trying to find out.
The wickets are three little sticks that they hold that are held up, and you're trying to throw the ball to hit the wickets. And if you hit them,
those are called the wickets. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And then if you hit them, then you're out. And it's like baseball, but nobody wears gloves. Wow. And it takes 7 days to play. 5 days to play an international test match. And in the middle, in the middle of the game, there's tea time. where they stop the game.
Of course there is.
They stop the game and they bring out a cart of tea.
On the pitch, the field?
On the pitch, yes. They bring out a cart of tea.
Oh my God.
And people drink tea and they go back to the game. And
what other sport does that? Like you watch an NFL game and you'll see, or even a college football game, and you'll see Gatorade on the sidelines, but it's like it's on the sidelines. It's not. They don't stop the game and go, let's, you wait till the game's over, and then you dump the Gatorade on the winning coach, but you never interrupt the game for the beverages.
That's because you're uncivilized.
Well, we do live here in the colonies.
We tried to show you. I try to explain people how a game could take 5 days to play, and Americans are like, "What?" Wow. It's the same way how Americans don't understand, like in soccer, how there could be a draw and that's still a good match. You're like, no, there's only winners and losers, and it's like, no.
That's a very American thing.
Yeah. Sometimes,
zero sum.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a draw. And, you
agree to disagree.
You have a good day. We draw. Yeah. So like, wow. So some of those ideas like that are built into American like culture are like so foreign to me. Like it makes me laugh. Like one of the funniest things about Americans is they have no control over their superlatives. Like Americans always say things like, "This is awesome. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. This is the greatest thing of all time." And the rest of like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Of all time, have you studied the entire history of humanity? Do you know what the future of humans is gonna be? So you know that this moment is the greatest moment of all time? What are you even talking about? Do you understand how language works? It's so bizarre to people who are not Americans. And the reason I think Americans are like this is because you're isolated. I mean, if you live in the UK, you're surrounded by other countries with other people with other ideas. If you live in the Caribbean like I did, like there's only one airport and every flight is an international flight to another country. We have to deal with other people. But Americans are completely isolated in their
right.
Their
suburb.
Yeah, in their Banbury Cross cul-de-sac or whatever their Walnut Creek. Yeah,
fortified by a Whole Foods and a Starbucks and an Abercrombie and Fitch in every corner to protect us from the outside world.
Yeah, and from criticism of your ridiculous ideas, and that's fun.
We have a lot of them.
And it's not your fault. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, you how would you know?
Well, see, that's the thing. People tell us, and then we grab our supersized, value meal, and we use it as a talking stick, and we like thrust in your face, go like, "No, man, we're Americans. We're the best. We don't need to learn your culture." It's like, well, your culture is our culture because, like, America's like everybody, like, because everybody came to America, unless you're, an Apache.
Well, we
all came to America.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, I came to America as an immigrant. Most of the black people, did not come to America. They were dragged to America. That's a whole different sort of thing. But I feel what's happening now, and this is why I think things will change, is the rest of the world is watching us and going, wow, these people are full of shit.
Right.
And so, like, whatever goodwill we Americans built by rebuilding the world after World War II, like it's been squandered at this point. Like America is fat Elvis now. Okay. Like
we're morally bankrupt. We have no authority.
America's fat Elvis. Like, okay, Elvis was
a great analogy.
He's great in the 50s, but by 1973, he was just kind of like wafting off of that old, like, oh look, let me put my finger in the air. Remember this? Hunk of burning love. and people are like,
Right.
yeah, but you're fat and on drugs, and you're kind of bloated right now. And I think it's okay to get in that situation and recognize that, yes, you are fat, Elvis, and maybe you need to clean this up,
Right.
So, I mean, who's buying this shit? Nobody's buying this shit anymore. I mean, that's the thing. The thing you're trying to sell, nobody's buying. I mean, because you see it. You see the police brutality. You see all these young white people with no money, in debt from college.
It's undeniable.
Getting beat in public. Like when I was telling Cory, when I saw that white girl get kicked, when the police kicked that white girl in the chest, I was like, yo, son, they kicking white girls in the chest now? My dude, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a wrap. You're kicking white girls in between the titties? What?
Oh my God.
Like, it's a wrap.
It's weird because like I've never had anyone come up to me and go back to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But I know people who have a darker skin color than I do, and people, complete strangers, will walk up to them and go back to Africa, and like they're like 17 generations American, like they're, you know what I mean? It's. I think that reveals the whole. If someone says, "Well, there's no white privilege," it's like, really, who walked up to you and said, "Go back to Europe"? It never happens. And partly that's because we don't hang around, folks that actually were here before Columbus as much as we could.
Well, it's been set up for you to not do that, and I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I feel like it's just too easy for you as a white person to not give a shit. And here's the difference.
True.
And here's the difference. If you're a black person and you want to talk to a black person about racial inequality or about police brutality, you immediately get empathy. Immediately. Like, no black person, if I'm talking to a Cory or any other black person, they're not going to be like,
sure,
I don't believe this. Like, immediately. But if you're a white person and you actually care about racial justice, you have so much resistance coming from that. And I think that's why so many white people just drop out, because it's too hard. It's too hard.
It's exhausting. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's like, I call it, there's three categories of white resistance. There's the apathy people who are like, oh, it's such a shame that Negro got killed for jaywalking. I'll change the channel. Apathy.
Right.
Then there's the rationalizing people. These are the people on Twitter going, well, he must have done something to have been killed for jaywalking. Here's a picture of him smoking a joint in high school. Clearly he's a thug. Right? You see what I'm saying? And then there's the third group that are just flat out nasty. Like, well, these people are subhuman and they're monkeys and they should be shot. And you see what I'm saying? So if you're a white person and you want to talk about racial justice, you want to try to change things, and you start a conversation, you're rolling the dice with other white people. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get one of those three categories, and you don't know which one is going to come out.
Just asking simple questions that seem like really fucking obvious, and on the face of it, if you have nothing to hide and you are a good cop, like what are you offended over? The pushback I'm getting from people who are either in law enforcement or come from law enforcement families is just amazing. And it's been exhausting for me as a human being, like having those conversations. But then I go, I'm having these conversations while a 6-foot white dude. What the fuck has it got to be like not being a white dude? Like, when I used to drive a car, if I saw, blue and red lights in my rearview mirror, this was my biggest worry. Oh shit, my auto insurance might go up. I might get some points on my license. Like, that's my biggest fear. It's not, I might get beat up.
Or
I might die tonight. And I have no idea as a white person what the fuck that feels like. So I can't even imagine what's like the triggers you experience because of this it's trauma. It's leftover trauma from the fucking founding of the Republic that, because of my white privilege, I don't taste that trauma. I don't feel that trauma. Because I happen to have a different skin color.
Well, I mean, like I'm in the game because I have no choice but to be in the game. But what I want you to try to think about is the resistance and the barriers that you're facing trying to engage other white people in this stuff. And I think that's really one of the things that's missing is that that white people don't understand how much resistance they're facing. And that's why I'm trying to categorize the levels of resistance they're facing, right? Because there are white people with good consciences who go like, this is bullshit. Like, you shouldn't be executed for jaywalking. Like that's no part of the penal code, Like, like, yo, man, I've jaywalked, but write me
having a fake 20.
Yeah, but how about you just write me a ticket, motherfucker? How about that? So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and the point I'm trying to get across is that as Black people, we don't have the same level of resistance about thinking and talking about this that white people face, and that those three levels of resistance. I don't know what the answer is to fix that, but you need to realize the reason it's so hard. I mean, you could go back to your job with all your white coworkers and crack a joke about George Floyd right now, and most of the people in the room will laugh. Some will feel uncomfortable, but no one's going to call you out. Nobody's going to call you out. I mean, there are white people on Twitter right now posting pictures of them kneeling on other people going, I don't believe that this happened because look, here's me kneeling on another person.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that level of resistance is what you're facing. And I think that's what disengages white people from actually fighting for justice, because it's fucking hard. Like you're going uphill all the time.
Well, you're drawing lines. It's like and even though it goes way beyond, politics, but it's like having a political conversation. It's like you're immediately drawing lines, and
it shouldn't.
The resistance I see is
no, it's not a political conversation. I mean, it's the basic civilization contract of don't murder people. If you have to fight to if somebody says, well, actually, about murdering people in the street for no reason, then it should be in a fucking psych ward. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How do you think civilization works? Like, we don't just walk out there and just kill people because we want it. Well, why can't I just kill people? Because you can't, you stupid motherfucker. That's not how civilization works. So that kind of resistance is what you have to face. And I'm going to work on this and figure out how to help white people with this, because they need to find a way to fight through those three levels of resistance. And I feel like it's important because without them finding that, they'll disengage. I promise you, half of these white people will just tweet #justice and won't even know who George Floyd is by the end of the summer.
Right.
They'll completely forget about him. Right, until the next, and you know what's going to happen? Some other Black dude's going to get killed, and they go, "Oh, well, I got to change my sign now."
Yeah, right.
So, but here's what I'm trying to get across is, I see why things don't change, and it's because of those three levels of resistance. And if you can find ways to break through that, then things might change. I mean, I was being very sarcastic about my post about white people getting their ass beat and that maybe might change things. I was just kind of fucking around, but I'm serious about it.
No, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. It's the whole, I think the reason why I maybe am able to reach the empathy a little quicker than maybe some other white folks is, I have mental health issues. I have a history of suicide ideation. I have multiple PTSDs.
Okay.
I mean, just as an example, when I was 19 years old, I was a student editor, and I got kicked out of college because I refused to stop publishing my newspaper. And I found out shortly thereafter, I was put on the FBI subversive list, so I could never serve in the military. I could never work for a military contractor. So, like, you know, I couldn't work at like SpaceX or not that I was ever in danger of having that opportunity, but
Elon Musk is like, damn it,
right? And then a decade later, I found out why they were so, threatened by an independent student press, because the college president resigned amid this sex scandal. He'd been, basically fucking his son's wife. And this is a school that raised millions of dollars on the pledge, family, church, and local community. Yeah. So I don't know what it's like to be Black. I do know what it's like to have really powerful white men, especially a lot of Republicans and political conservatives, put their sights on you and literally like just ruin your life. I do know what that's like. So when I hear stories from, a friend of mine whose brother in San Diego was, had a mental health issue, a mental health crisis in public while Black, police respond, not mental health professionals that could help him, but police with guns, they respond, and he's now dead. And she's still waiting.
That's how it tends to go. That's how it tends to go.
Yeah, and she's now waiting for justice. It's been 8 years. And I didn't even know about this about her. She's like really fun, really bubbly. I met her working some promo thing. I was in a costume, and she was, doing some promo, handing out free samples or what have you. Nicest person in the world, super bubbly. I had no idea about this part of her life. And it wasn't until the events of the last couple of weeks where she felt she was in a safe space where people would actually listen to her story. And I thought, holy shit, I could have been her brother. It's just, I'm white. I'm not Black. But I've had some moments where I was having a mental health crisis, but I'm still breathing. Yeah. So I'm like, that could be me. Or I think of another friend who I would love to have on this podcast, just like you are now. Nicest guy in the world. But he can't do it because he's had too many encounters, and he literally fears for his fucking life to even share some of the stories, because he knows that there's law enforcement out there that will retaliate. I mean, he's talking to me like he's afraid of the mob, the mafia. And I don't want to get any more specific because I love and respect my friend. I don't want to
don't put his name out there because they're probably monitoring this shit too. So
I really I relate to him, and I see where like, fuck, that could, because some of the stuff that he does, there's things that I do. So I'm like, that could be me. So I take it really fucking personally. And it's like, my fucking heroes. Like, I love Prince, and Prince's birthday was just the other day, There's 4 buskers that I acknowledge at the end of every podcast that have died. And in many cases, it's because of lack of resources, and it's because of, buskers, street performers are not exactly in the highest echelons of society. And one of them is he was a tribute artist for Prince, and he went by Prince St. Paul. Okay. His family in Detroit still is wondering like how he died, why he died, and we're depending on the LAPD and the medical examiner to come up with some answers. They're still waiting, and he died a few years ago. So it's like I take this personally, and that said, I acknowledge, there's this culture. So it's like, well, what do I do when I'm in a room with a bunch of other white people and someone says that joke? Then I got to make a decision. If I push back on that, then I have to deal with the consequences of that.
Exactly, and that's what,
because it's not the guy who tells the joke. It's the everyone who's sitting there while he says it. What do they do?
Yeah, And that's
there's this argument of the good cops. There's the argument of the good people. Well, I'm not racist. Okay, well, when the guy just nonchalantly drops the N-word, what'd you do then? Did you push back on it? Or you just well, I didn't laugh real hard. I just did ha. Yeah, that's not good enough.
Yeah, it's
not.
Well, I mean, again, it's very easy in this culture to let that shit slide because there's no consequences to it. I mean,
and I've done that.
So you've been in a room with
it slide.
So and I'm not judging you for this, but I will bet that you've been in a room where someone has said some really fucked up shit about black people, and you were like, you didn't confront him, or you might have even laughed. And that's why I say, like, you can go in a room of 10 white people right now, make a joke about George Floyd, and the pushback will be minimal at best, because the resistance is so strong. And so now what you need to see is that you're fighting a resistance, and you need to do something about that. But you need to understand the levels of resistance you're fighting against.
I've pushed back on people just dropping the N-word. And I'm like, really, dude?
Who does that? Who still does that? What? People just out there just like they dropping the N-bomb on people? Like that happens?
Yeah, because I can clearly tell that what's going on in their head is, well, you're another white guy, so you get it. Like that's the vibe. Like there's absolutely zero sense of any consequence whatsoever.
See, to me, like that's so strange, and I'm sorry. I mean, I'm a dumb foreigner. I just don't get that. I mean, I don't understand. Like I read, like I said earlier, I read all my comic friends who are from the Midwest, and their people say shit like that, and I just go like, I just can't believe this is happening. Like, why would this even happen? You know,
right?
like why? Like it's so weird. But,
so I'll push back on that. It'll be like in a 1-on-1. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 people, and I'll push back. And then it's like this big, huge thing. Come on, man. And it's a typical tired excuses. Come on, man. I'm just joking. Come on. Can't you take a joke? And it's like, well, and then
it's a joke.
And it's like,
is that what they rock with? I mean, they're doing like a terrible Don Rickles impression. Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Yeah, a professional comedian. I'm supposed to recognize their skills, and I failed, and so it's my bad. Yeah, but I mean that's a little thing. That's language.
By the way, okay, sure, go ahead. I was just going to say, Lisa Lampanelli used to do a lot of like really bad jokes about black people, and then she made a lot of money and lost weight and married.
Yeah,
all that talk about taking black cock. And then she married a white guy, and okay, but anyway, but fucking
wow,
yeah, fuck you, Lisa Lampanelli. Anyway,
well, I haven't heard much about Lisa Lampanelli lately, so.
But I mean, I didn't mean to derail what you were saying about like how you confront white people when they're being racist.
I don't feel you did. I feel like I need to listen to you because that's kind of the whole point.
I mean,
because I don't know.
Well, you see it on the comedy scene all the time, especially here in LA, where like white comics will get on stage and like, and it's such a trope. It's not that they're saying the N-word. They'll just throw out a black stereotype and be like, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, I'm just kidding. Hey, it's just a joke, And it's like, well, why are the jokes all at our expense, and why are there no other black comics on stage right now? And you see that over and over again. And you just go like, this is not a joke. Second City has had the black alumni like post some stuff where they had receipts. UCB has put some stuff out there. I mean, it's a real problem.
Just Second City just lost their leader over this. because he was saying some racist shit, and they're like, no. So a Second City alum was like, oh, hell no. And now he's no longer running Second City. I think it's Second City. It's one of the Chicago improv school.
I always thought, no disrespect, but I always thought like UCB was just a scam to get young white kids to make their parents like pay to follow their dreams. Because and you could tell
like it was the Barbizon of improv comedy.
No, it was the Amway of improv because it always hit you with that shit like, oh, you're doing pretty good, but you need one more class.
Right, exactly.
One more, whatever, $500.
And it just so happens we have just the right class for you.
Yeah.
And today, if you sign up,
then you might be in a troop. But you need one more class.
Yeah.
And it just,
but wait, there's more.
Like it was such a fucking Ponzi scheme. Like at some point, you just go, like, black people don't have time for that shit. Number one, because we don't have the money, and number two, like we're out here in the streets, like doing open mics in fucked up bars, trying to get this comedy shit right. We don't have time for it. And we don't have time to,
because that's the class, right? The class is actually stage time, being on stage in front of a real audience, doing your shit, seeing if it works, working your material out. That's the class. It's not going and paying someone who's not holding a microphone in front of an audience.
Yeah.
You know,
that you being in front of people that you're paying, you know,
they paid for you to make them laugh.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like a scam to me. And you know, there were some
interesting.
There were some comics that were like, "Look, man, you need to really fuck with UCB, and like because you know that's where the shit is going." And I'm like, $500 for a class, and I might get some stage time after that. What?
Yeah.
Like what? Like I do this. I do stand up for free. I ran an open mic at Mel's Diner, like free. Like why the fuck would I pay $500 to have these people with their corny jokes and their corny attitude? Like, are you fucking kidding me? So yeah, that was a. I mean, I'm glad.
The improv and stand-up are two different art forms as well.
Yeah.
I should say like sketch comedy versus stand-up. They're
improv is for people that had two parents and went to high school.
I'm holding up my hand. I'm like, yeah, that was me. I did that.
No. The stand-up is for people like me that had a completely fucked up life and are like, we don't give a fuck about any of that shit, and we don't work well with other people. We just want to get on stage and talk our shit. I mean, there's no I don't know who's listening to this, but to be honest, like stand-up comics are not well-adjusted people.
13 people are listening to this in the next 12 months. At least 13 people will listen to this.
So. And it's not like we're psychopaths, but we don't like stand-up comics look at improv people and we go, oh, look at them. They actually like each other. They want to hang out.
They want to collaborate. What's that like?
Yeah. Oh, you're so awesome. Oh, you're so awesome. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. And for me, I'm like, fuck you. Don't fucking touch me. Don't touch me. What's wrong with you? There's no touching right now. Okay? Fuck out of here.
You know, it's weird because I have my feet in a couple different worlds because I started in stand-up and then I got sucked into acting, which is like very collaborative as well. But then when I started doing Lieutenant Frank 7 years ago, it's improv because I'm literally improvising material, you know, on the fly in the moment with complete strangers, wearing a ridiculous costume that kind of makes me a little bit vulnerable. There's no bouncers to like protect me if something goes sideways. And I'm roasting people, complete strangers, saying crazy shit. But it's like I have a lot of what a stand-up comic has. I'm the writer, I'm the director, I'm the performer, you know, I'm the producer, I'm like everything. I wear all the hats.
Right.
If I'm collaborating with these complete strangers that I encounter, but you know, it's similar to like when you do crowd work, you know, you're riffing off of, you know, someone in the audience, but you know, it's your show, you're running it, you're just, there's something you can bounce off of, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, you're a hybrid, like you're an
Guilty.
actor and a comedian and all those things. I'm not. I'm a comedian. I don't like crowd work because I'm not necessarily interested in what the crowd has to say because I've listened to them for years and it's usually pretty boring and it's not better than it tends to not be better than what I've written.
Well, you got something to say and people pay to come and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you come to see a show, you know, and I've thought about this for a long time. I've written and rewritten the things that I'm saying, and for you to just like spout out some things, like why should that even matter? You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love comics that are great at crowd work. Like T.K. Kirkland is one of my favorite guilty pleasures to watch.
Okay.
To watch T.K. Kirkland do crowd work. He is hilarious and mean as fuck, and the audience just goes like, "Oh my god, he's murdering."
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, he's a black comic. If you're white, you probably haven't seen him because he does mostly Chitlin Circuit work, and yeah, Chitlin.
I've seen Paul Mooney. You worked with Paul Mooney.
Yeah, I opened for Paul Mooney at the Sacramento Punchline. One of the greatest things,
amazing.
One of the greatest things about working for Paul Mooney was that he would be in the green room just talking about whatever was on his mind.
Yeah.
And I'd bring him on stage and it was just a continuation of that conversation. Like it wasn't like he was like, "Oh, I guess here's the show now. Let me switch this over."
Right.
Like he was the same shit he was saying in the green room, he was saying on stage, and he just looking at him. And I remember a Saturday. I remember a Saturday show where he was getting no laughs, and some people were like, "We don't like this," and he's like, "Well, leave, bitch! I don't give a fuck." Like,
right, exactly.
Like he ascended to a not giving a fuck level.
Right.
That was so high. Like he did not break at all. Like he didn't try to get back into material or try to like, he's like, "No, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm talking about. I wrote for Richard Pryor in the 1970s. Go fuck yourself if you don't like it."
Exactly. Yeah.
That was a revealing moment for me as a comedian to see a comic thinking and talking about something and just get on stage and continue that. Like he was not trying to create quote unquote material. You know, Dave Chappelle does this all the time. That's why he's one of the greatest of all time. Like you watch him talk.
He is the greatest.
You can see him think through ideas. I mean, and I feel
a lot of layers too.
Oh yeah. A lot of layers, a lot of callbacks. And one of the things I miss from not being able to do comedy at a comedy club now is not having that stage time to work through this stuff.
Right.
I mean, what I want
Zoom is it's something, but it's definitely not live audience.
No, it doesn't feel that way.
How has it been for you doing Zoom, performing on Zoom?
It doesn't quite. It's okay, but it doesn't quite work because people don't feel the anonymity that you get from a comedy club. If you're in a comedy club, if you're in a comedy club, you can sort of hide your face. You don't have to have your face there when I say something.
Gotcha.
When I say something that's inappropriate or like political or racist or whatever.
Right.
You're there. They can see you laugh. And there's a lot of comedy where there are people in the back, hidden in the darkness of the comedy club, laughing their asses off, knowing that they probably don't feel comfortable laughing about that in the broad daylight.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And Zoom takes...
They're effectively anonymous.
Yes, and Zoom takes that away from people. And comedy, stand-up comedy, is about being able to really get into the dark corners of being a human being and laugh at it and not be judged by it. I mean, there's a select few people who will be like, yes, I do stand up and I subscribe to this. I will laugh at this. But for most people, they're afraid. And that's okay, because that's, we live in a society of people trying to conform. So when I do my jokes about white girls getting kicked by the police in between the titties, that's going to be fucking hilarious in a comedy club. It's got to be.
It is. It is.
I laugh every time I think about that. I know it's going to be funny.
That's true, too. It's fucking true.
Yeah, but if you do it in a Zoom show, some people are like, no, I can't be seen laughing at that.
Right. Wow. I hear what you're saying, though. There's also there's a distance, like right now, just like, because you and I haven't actually met in person. This is the closest we've come to meeting, and we're seeing each other here with the video on Facebook Messenger, but it's like it's not the same. Like when I had Cory over at the Musicians Institute, and I'm sitting across from him, and we both got mics in front of us, and it's like we can see each other. We can hear each other, like all the subtle nuance. It's live. It's right there.
Right.
All your senses are activated, and there's a connection. There's an intimacy. There's there's several layers of communication going on that, when it's just this distant audio and video, there's so much that's lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Well, I feel ultimately we'll find a way, if we have to do this for, which we probably will have to do for at least the rest of 2020, we will find ways. We will find ways to communicate that nuance and get that across, and we have to, and we will, because
virtual reality.
Yeah. I mean, I have virtual dates where
Have you? What's that been like? Because I'll open up Tinder and I'll do something, and then literally within less than 5 minutes, I'm like, fuck this shit.
No. Okay. Stop.
It's a fair. You should laugh at me. Yes.
Stop.
Absolutely.
Stop.
Yes.
You're on Tinder right now? What are you doing, dude?
I'm half-hearted. It's like not really. It's leftover from like a few years ago. I'm like really not.
I mean, okay.
I've had zero dates and zero virtual dates for like a year. So it's not even on my fucking radar right now.
Okay. I would not advise you. You know what? You're a grown ass man. Do whatever you want. But the point is, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm on virtual dates with the person I'm seeing, and we buy each other food. So, like, I'll send.
Well, so how did you guys meet? How did we meet?
At a comedy show.
Okay.
We met at Downtown Joe's in Napa. And after the show, she said she liked my set, and we were.
So she's a civilian.
Yes, she's not a comic. Yeah.
So you're dating a fan.
Well, she's not a fan.
I'm just trying to get it clear what's going on here.
She's not a fan. She's not a chuckle fucker. She's not like, okay, I know what a chuckle fucker is, okay? I've done shows at Sacramento Punchline, San Francisco Punchline.
A chuckle fucker. Okay, this is where I know I'm not in stand-up enough, because that's the first time I've heard that phrase, which makes a lot of fucking sense. It's a good phrase. It gets the job done. Yeah, chuckle fucker. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Chuckle fuckers are women that show up and they really like comedians, and they love your set and all this stuff, and they know you're staying at a hotel, and they'll come and they'll hang out, and
right.
They'll
Right.
then everything.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more.
Yeah, exactly. No, but she liked what I was talking about. We've had good conversations, and then we started having these virtual dates, and the virtual dates.
Right on.
And the virtual dates work because like she will send me like DoorDash food. Like we'll agree ahead of time like what we're gonna.
Oh, that's cool. Right.
You know, but I wouldn't do that with some stranger that I found on fucking Tinder because they're gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, thanks for the food. Close the laptop."
This is your pre-existing, pre-pandemic relationship.
Yeah. We had a relationship before that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I would not like be on Tinder or OkCupid or fucking any of that shit. Like, yeah, let's have a virtual date. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the DoorDash. Click.
Yeah, I
mean,
I got to meet you in person. Otherwise, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, in the early 90s, like some women would do that where they'd meet you and eat, dine and dash on you, where they're like, "Yeah, this is great. Here's the check. I gotta go to the bathroom." And
I got this thing. It just came up. Oh my god.
Yeah, the comedian Neil Nanda had a great tweet about that. He's like, in LA, I'm not sure I've been on a bunch of dates, but I've definitely been on a bunch of feedings. I've definitely been feeding the people. So yeah, I would not try to do this right now. I mean, if you think, LA women are shady before all this, like now, like what's to stop you from meeting somebody on Tinder and you try to have a virtual date? You send them food and they just go, "All right, I'm sorry, my, Comcast is fucking up right now. Click." I mean,
oh my god.
So yeah, I wouldn't.
I met some shady women in the Midwest too, so it's not just an LA thing. That's the thing. I don't buy into the whole LA. LA people are fake. LA people are, it's like it's concentrated here, but it's not exclusive to LA. Like the same shit's going on all over the planet. It just LA, by definition, you're dealing with, the television and film industry, you're dealing with music, you're dealing with comedy, you're dealing with celebrities, you're dealing with all this stuff where there's a lot of attention and focus and performance. And so it's all heightened, but it's the same shit's going on at different levels across the fucking planet.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where you have people taking advantage of each other. You have people pretending one thing, doing another.
There's shady people, shady women all across the country. But if you come to a place like New York or LA, you're gonna get so much more of them. One of my favorite jokes I used to play is pretending that I play basketball for the NBA, and that was fun. Like that was funny for a while. I'd go to the Beverly Center and they're like, "Hey, do I know you? Do I know you?"
Oh my god!
Yeah, and that would happen. And to me, like the funniest part of this is my fucking retarded nature is they would be like, "Do I know you?" And they look at me and they go, "Nah," and they'd be like, "Nah, girl, he ain't nobody," and walk away. And I'm like, "Yeah, I am nobody." Have a good day. And I loved it.
like it was your fault that they thought you were somebody.
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh wait, no, he's nobody." Like, yeah, that's not on me. That's on you. You're the one who started this whole charade.
Yeah.
I'm, you're not the victim here, okay?
No. I mean, to see two women go, "Yeah, nah, girl, he ain't nobody," and walk away, that was the funniest shit. Because it's like you wasted 3 minutes of your time following me around the fucking Beverly Center, hoping that I played for the Lakers or the Clippers or something, and then you were like disgusted, like, "Nah, girl, he ain't nobody." Ugh!
He can't get us something for free.
It's so. I mean, yeah. So yeah. I mean, the shadiness of all of this is Okay, I gotta dial back to where I was before. But yeah, you're right. Like there are shady people all over the place, but in New York and LA, because it's a concentration of people that are trying to be in the entertainment industry, that are trying to make something happen, you will get this behavior more often. I mean, I've seriously been thinking about moving back to San Francisco. Like I've had that discussion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I mean, I look at people like W.Kamau Bell. Are you familiar with? You know W.Kamau Bell? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he lives in like Berkeley or Oakland, like somewhere around there, and he works for CNN.
Right.
And it's like, well, why should I live in Los Angeles if I can, have a career
anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, and especially now that everything is remote, like.
Yeah. Right.
And I love the Bay and have people in the Bay, so why not?
Sure.
I mean, how do you feel about Los Angeles?
See, growing up in Auburn, spending a decade in Michigan, and then spending the 2000s in an industry I fucking hated, mortgage loans, and the San Francisco East Bay, on the other side of the Caldecott Tunnel. I realized that I would have to have a lot of money to live in the part of San Francisco that I would love to live in, like San Francisco. I don't know. For me, I love LA. I love everything about LA. I've never felt more at home than living here in LA. And I like San Francisco, but to me, San Francisco is like Tahoe, to me personally. It's like a fun vacation spot. But I don't know that I'd want to live there 24/7.
Word? Really? Okay. Like, that's weird. I feel the opposite. Yeah. I feel the opposite. Like,
yeah. For me, LA...
For me, like, LA feels to me like I'm just here to get my career right and to get and to make some shit work. I mean, the Bay is my home. The Bay is my home. As a matter of fact, here's me wearing the KPOO 89.5 FM radio t-shirt.
KPOO FM 89.5 on his black t-shirt, white letters with some white kind of misty bunch of faces, the background.
Yeah. It's one of the last black-owned radio stations in the country.
And no shit.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean...
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And, they play... I mean... So, to me, like, the Bay is...
That's amazing. That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so groovy. That's amazing. That's awesome. Do I have any more American superlatives I can file out?
Stop it. You can just say that's nice.
I was listening, Kevin. I was listening to you, brother.
That's a nice callback.
That's it. I fixed racism because I heard Kevin for a hot second. My job is done.
Great. That's a nice comedy callback. I'll take that. But yes.
What drew you to comedy? With like what? And also, what do you want to do comedy or do you have to do comedy?
Okay, what drew me to comedy? I was in my 30s and I was living in Palo Alto at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. At the time.
Now explain Palo Alto, because Palo Alto it's got some different histories and it's got some different mojos. So.
Yeah. Okay. So when people think about Palo Alto and black people, they think about East Palo Alto. And that's not where I lived. I lived in Palo Alto next to California Street. I had just been in a startup that got acquired, and I had some money, so I didn't work for a while.
Nice.
So I didn't work for a while, and I was just trying to figure out. But Palo Alto is like the center of the old version of
Silicon Valley.
The Silicon Valley venture capitalism, all that stuff. The
VC world. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of like caught up in that world, just like trying to figure out, okay, what's my next move and all this. But it was dry as hell. Like, there was nothing going on in Palo Alto. There was like one bar. You could go to Mountain View, like down the street, and there was like one bar there, and there was nobody there. So what ended up happening was I drove up to San Francisco just because I had nothing else to do and I wasn't even working. And I went to Club Deluxe. Club Deluxe was a
Heard of it?
Club Deluxe, tiny bar on Haight Street. And Big Al Gonzalez and
Yeah, Big Al.
yeah,
Big Al.
Yeah, he lives in Texas now. Big Al Gonzalez and
I did not know that, so I know of him. I've met him once or twice, but I don't. Not on the regular.
Yeah, he was running a show. Big Al Gonzalez and Leah Ava.
Okay.
She lives in Chicago now. They were running an open mic, and I walked in there, and I had never. I've always loved stand-up comedy. Like in the 90s, like as a shut-in kid, I would watch like Evening at the Improv, because you're a kid and it's like a Saturday night, you can't go anywhere, and it's like, I'll just watch.
Right.
And so Evening at the Improv would come on all the time, and I'd watch that stuff. So I always loved it. I mean, I didn't know that you could do it. I just thought that was like so removed from like, oh, there's stand-up comics and there's normal people. It's a wrap.
All right.
You know what I mean? So it didn't feel like it was a thing that you could do. So I'd never really thought about doing it. And so
Interesting.
But what changed for me was when I went to Club Deluxe on that Monday. It was a Monday night. And it was open mic night. And I was listening to these comics trying out their jokes. And a part of me went, yo, I can write better than this. Like, this is good.
Right.
And so, so that hubris, it was the beginning of the end, basically. Me going, well,
was it hubris or is it an honest assessment? Because you're a fan of comedy and you're consuming it and you're going, wait, you can deliver a shitty product?
Yeah,
I have a product that's not shitty. What the fuck? I can do this.
Yeah, this is not good. But up until that moment, Club Deluxe on Haight, I did not know that anybody could do this. And like I said that, I was I said it out loud. And Big Al Gonzalez said, well, you know what? Go to the Brainwash on Thursdays. Right? And there's an open mic there, and get your material right, and we'll put you up.
Explain the Brainwash to folks, because the Brainwash is like a big, huge theater with plush seating, right?
Rest in peace, Brainwash. The Brainwash was a laundromat / coffee house with beer.
I'm sorry, did you say laundromat?
It was a laundromat. Yes, there was.
So people are fucking doing their whites and colored washing.
Yeah,
while people are doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah. The back room was a laundromat. The front room was the cafe where they gave you beer, and if you did laundry, they gave you a free beer. Like that was part of the deal. And and on Thursdays,
I've never been to the Brainwash, but like I'm familiar from being in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
like I'd see all the promotions, and a lot of people perform there.
The Brainwash was a starting point for so many people. Moshe Kasher, Ali Wong.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I saw so many people come. Greg Edwards, so many people came through there. Yeah. Like by the time I started doing comedy there, like Moshe Kasher and Ali Wong were like, we're the freshmen and they were like the seniors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
Like
sure.
They already started working at the Punchline. and we were just out there like trying to get our shit together. So hopefully they would see us and think,
right.
So they could recommend us. The Brainwash was a crazy place because it's a cafe. There's a long line. It's an open mic, and there's a methadone clinic a block away. So there's a lot of like people,
of course there is, right?
There's a lot of people like just trying to like
get by, survive.
Yeah, so they're drinking coffee because they can't do drugs anymore. Like that was a lot of the audience.
They're overdue for a meeting. Their sponsors like frantically trying to figure out where the hell they are.
Right. There were a lot of sponsor meetings happening. So trying to make like former drug addicts and crazy San Francisco people laugh was a thing. But again,
no easy task.
Yeah. So to answer your second question, did comedy call me? Yes. Why else would you go into that environment and try to make people laugh? There has to be something in your mind that goes, yeah, this is ridiculous, but
this makes sense.
I think I got a couple jokes. And, I mean, I did the Throckmorton Theater, which was really great.
Robin's haunt.
I met Robin Williams before he died. Like,
it's amazing.
I met so many of these like classic comics, Dana Carvey, people like that. But I think the moment I knew that comedy was for me was doing a set at the Brainwash and nothing working, but I got one laugh for one joke. And there's a part of my mind that goes,
all you need.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take that.
Like, you got one, you can get two. You get two, you can get four.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What kind of nut thinks that way?
Lunatic stand-up comics.
And for me, it really was a special choice because I didn't start until I was 33. I was in my 30s when I started comedy.
Yeah.
So
which is late.
Yeah,
you weren't starting out as a teenager.
Yeah,
or it's like early 20s.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of comics start in the 1920s. Like Dave Chappelle was doing DC.
He was like 14, wasn't he?
Yeah. Like Dave Chappelle was really young. And a lot of comics start when they're young and they just keep going. But I found this later, But I mean,
I relate.
But I was kind of inspired by Rodney Dangerfield, who didn't start comedy.
Until he
was 40s. Like he's working as like an aluminum salesman or something.
Yeah, he's aluminum siding. Yeah, a sales guy.
Yeah, and
door to door.
Yeah, so he didn't start till he was in his 40s.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so to me,
was it his 40s? I feel like he was in his 50s.
No, 40s. He started in his 40s.
It was his 40s. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Rodney Dangerfield didn't start comedy until he was in his 40s. And so I felt like, I'm surrounded by people who are starting now in their 20s. And it's weird that I started at 33, but
if Rodney, Rodney could do it.
But I mean, I think it's sort of, I think being younger might make you a better comic, but being older makes you a better writer. Because
absolutely.
I mean, you could be a dynamo on stage, like a complete, like a monster on stage as a 25-year-old, but
teen sensation with energy.
But to write things the right way, to have perspective, like
you gotta have life experiences.
Yeah, you gotta,
you gotta have a few tragedies pile up to give you something to work with,
Exactly. So, yeah. So that's what kind of that's what drew me to this, is that I felt like I enjoy comedy. I like comedy, and I want to write the way I've heard other people write. I mean, do you know that, like, as an artist, when you see other artists and you go, I want to get there. How do I? And you think, how do I get there?
Right.
And that's why you keep going, because you hope that with practice and with writing, with more practice, you might not become the next Dave Chappelle, but you might become something close to that. And that's good enough for me. And that's why.
I'd love to be, and I know you've worked with this guy. I'm a huge fan of his. I'd love to just walk on stage and be Eddie Pepitone. Just rage against the corporate machine and then talk about a quality deli sandwich all in the same breath. So give us some Eddie story.
Eddie was a really nice guy. I worked with him at Rooster Teeth Feathers. He's one of those guys that, like, after the show would like hang out with you and then go to the restaurant and just get some food. Like, it was very.
That's so cool.
I mean, people think that comics are just like wild people, like after shows they're doing drugs and just like drinking and going crazy. But he'd be like, no, let's go to the, I mean,
that's part of the hype. Music too, it's like, or movie stars. It's like there's this glamorous, thing that people like to imagine.
what I really liked about Eddie Pepitone is that he's a poet and a comedian. So you can,
Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
he's a poet. So a lot of the cadence, a lot of the ideas that he brings out, like a lot of the structural things. I'm trying to think of the name's going to come up in a second. Bucky Sinister is like that. A funny person, but also a poet.
Right.
And he's also old enough to know what he's doing and old enough to know better.
Right.
And it's absolutely great. He was very sweet to me when I worked with him with Rooster Teeth Feathers. I'm
really happy to hear that.
And he's a great guy. And then we had like food afterwards. I worked with my first week at the Punchline. I worked with this comic. And he's dead now, rest in peace. He was a bank robber back in the 60s.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
no way.
Yeah. And I wrote a little essay about him because at the time, like, a lot of female comics were complaining about how, like, they're being discriminated against and so on.
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain, like, look, my first week working at the Punchline, he took me out to dinner like every night, and that was fun. And we talked about comedy and we talked about his life. And at no point did he try to pull his dick out. So imagine,
you felt her pain.
So imagine being a female comic in the same position I am. This is your first week working at a club, getting paid, and suddenly, a guy pulls his dick out like that. That'll be fucked up, and you don't want that because you love comedy. Because you love comedy, and you don't want it to be. I mean, like, hanging out with him made me feel like I'm legit now. Like I'm doing a week. And the headliner wants to hang out with me.
You're in the club.
I'm in now.
You're part of the thing. Yeah.
And for that to just be like blown up by some dude pulling his dick out, like, I'd be like, fuck, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
So but he was a bank robber. He served in the army and he learned how to use explosives and dynamite. And
that's crazy.
And it's hilarious. And just like old people, before they had like cell phones and shit like that, back in a time where you could, like, rob people, then move to a different city and just change your name.
Right. Yeah. There's no internet. There's no national database,
No. You could go to Kinko's and laminate your face onto a different name and just have a new ID, and that's it. People could have 17 wives in the same county, like. Yeah. So you lived in that time. So, like, he got the bright idea to, like, they were going to rob this bank, and he, hey, explosives, so just blow up the roof and we'll get down in there. And
God.
God, I forgot how the story went, but they caught him and he had to serve time in prison. And he came out and was like, I'll just do comedy now.
Sure. That's a segue that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it was
bank jobs, prison. Yeah, comedy. That's the trajectory. Sure. But Kevin, go ahead.
No, I know we're running out of time. So,
can you believe we've done almost 2 hours?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. It's almost 2. Okay.
Yeah. And I have a list of shit that I wanted to get into with you, a bunch of questions. So I feel like we just had a really good, moment in the bar with a couple beverages and some hors d'oeuvres, but we plan to do the main event. But it's like we just blew through all our time just hanging out before the show. So I'm going to have to bring you back on the pod here. You know what? Maybe when we can actually see each other in real life, we could do the podcast in person. And we could do a part 2.
Yeah, I'd love to do a part 2, where you could just like ask me like pointed questions. I mean, we did get through the question of how I started comedy and things like that. And we did talk about racial justice, which I think is really important. And I'm glad that you're thinking really hard about this,
Well, and I'm open to, I mean, this is the first time we've met, visually. We've, talked on the phone and, through social media. But, I know Cory a little better than I know you, but I like to consider you a friend.
Sure. Yeah, I enjoy talking to you.
I feel like right now, because of how I look, it's the way it is. I should be listening to friends like you. And
you look like the police.
I do. Well, you know what? Casting directors in Hollywood agree with you. I literally, I can't tell you how many times I've played uniform cops. I've played detectives. I literally, I was in a period piece from like the 70s with Alan Cumming, who's one of the X-Men. Okay. And I'm literally a uniform cop wrestling with Alan Cumming because I'm there with the social worker and we're about to take his kid that he and his gay partner are, parenting, and his kid has special needs. And we're like yanking the kid away. And Alan Cumming's character is like, oh, fuck no, you're not taking my kid. So I'm literally wrestling Alan Cumming in a cop uniform, thinking, don't bruise Alan Cumming, don't bruise Alan Cumming, don't bruise Alan Cumming. Like,
yeah, I
totally look like a cop, and I need to be listening to my friends like you, and I need to hear your stories. I need to hear your pain. I need to hear the shit that I don't understand because I'm not dealing with that shit every single fucking day of the week like you are. Because I recognize that just as I have my own traumas, you got a whole other layer of traumas, multiple traumas that aren't just you. And you have to deal with it all the time. And it's because of the culture we live in, and that affects you. And you need to have an outlet. And I might not be Cory, but I want to be Mark. And to the degree I can listen and be there, if it's helpful, if you need it, a volunteer, brother.
Well, thank you for saying that, and understand that it's entirely possible. As NASA always says, work the problem. Okay, so we don't just have to have conversations about this. We can actually fix it.
Right.
And one of the things I was trying to get across is these 3 levels of resistance that you, as a white person that's actually conscientious, are facing, and you need to start thinking about how you fight through that. Right? Work the problem.
Right.
So
yeah.
So yeah, we can have another conversation. I'd love to be back on the podcast. I would absolutely love to talk more about comedy. We are talking about comedy, but there's also so much happening right now. Like, it's kind of hard to not, to be like,
it's an interesting time. I'm glad we got to have the conversation we did, but I don't want to cheat you out of a lot of the stuff that, is really interesting about you and your career that we haven't even touched on yet.
I've got a lot of comedy stories. If you want to hear stories
that I want to hear, believe me,
if you want to hear,
you had me a Paul Mooney and Eddie Pepitone. I mean, Jesus, come on.
I can tell you the time I worked for when I opened for Tracy Morgan at Cobb.
Oh, that's right, you worked with Tracy. Oh my God, that's got to be insane and amazing.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. We can cut this up. I know you got a thing on Amazon right now, right?
Yeah. It's so they used to be.
Tell us about that. How can we see it?
Okay, so there's a show called Coffee TV 20 Creepy Movie Time, and what they do is they show like terrible horror movies, and it's like
Mystery Science Theater 3000 a little bit, but
but
a little like later at night, a little more like 21 and over.
The commercial breaks are. The hosts like dress in costumes, and there's all these women wearing like goth and vamp and burlesque kind of things, right? So it is kind of
awesome.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy. There's a lot of boobies involved.
A little. It's very cheesy. It's spectacular.
And what they do, like they have like a 3-minute comedy segment, and this is TV20. It shows live in the Bay Area on TV20. If you still have,
that's right, coffee, right?
Yeah, KOFY. Yeah, TV20. Yeah. If you still have a TV antenna and you live in San Francisco, Oakland, or San Jose, you can see this shit for real. And so
that's awesome.
And so they packaged all the stuff up and put it on Amazon Prime, or I think it's Amazon or Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it's on regular Amazon.
It's Amazon Prime, but I think you can buy it if you don't have Prime. You can buy it, individual episodes, or rent them.
But it's fun, burlesque, like silliness, and there's a dance party afterwards. It's fun, and we do stand-up comedy. And so I just did like a 3-minute set, and the material's kind of dated. It was done during the 2016 Olympics, which I have like 2016.
It still works. I laughed. I enjoyed it, man. I dug it. It was good stuff.
It was fun. So sorry, not 2016, 2012. But anyway, the point is, it's fun and it's funny, and you should watch it and you should find it. And I feel like it's a lightweight TV credit. No shame in my game. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I've been on.
No, it's a good solid credit, man. I mean, I got a bunch of acting credits, and I'm background. I don't say a goddamn word. You are. It's all you, and you're doing a solid stand-up set. It's amazing. It's respect, brother. It's funny. I dig it. We'll put links to that as well as your social media on the episode page here. So
yeah, so definitely. Like Showtime, hit me up, Showtime and Kev. That's our podcast. We do it every Sunday. Hit me at, Kevlar Comedy on Twitter. And on Facebook, I'm just, writing long form. So, yeah.
You're Dirk Diggler on Facebook, right?
Dirk Diggler. You know what?
Explain that.
The reason, Dirk Diggler triggers something in my mind because I loved swingers back in the 90s. And of course, yes,
me too. Oh my God. Yes.
I had it on
Jon Favreau.
Yes.
Before he was like Star Wars and Marvel and huge, he was just some guy out of the East Coast with.
Yeah. And Heather.
Heather Graham.
Heather Graham was the love interest, right?
Yes.
And in Boogie Nights, where Dirk Diggler is a character, she shows up as Roller Girl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And she shows up completely naked on roller skates, and I was like, why didn't this happen 10 years ago? That would have sealed the deal for me.
Fair question. Yeah. Just roll into that bar on the skates.
That was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I've had a crush on her for a long time, and here she shows up in this thing, and I'm like,
Me too. Me too. I don't blame you, brother. I don't blame you a bit. I understand. And Kevin, you are so money, and you don't even know it.
God, this is great. Okay, we have to do this again, okay?
I'm looking forward to it, brother. And if you guys ever have guests, you and Cory, you know how to find me.
Yeah, we have guests. So I'll talk to Cory. We'll get you on our show, definitely. And we'll do. You
guys are awesome. You see how I snuck that in there? Yeah, I did love. I've been watching Billions a lot lately, so that's my that's my little my ask, my subtle little ask there. Like, I want to be on your show.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Definitely, we've had guests.
I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
The comedy pop-up studio is gone now, and so we're just doing it remotely. But yeah, we can definitely have you on. So we'd love to have you on that. And look, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this conversation. I mean, I really appreciate it.
Kevin, my pleasure. And I'll tell you, and Cory already kind of knows this a little bit. as I eventually try to come back to stand up, like I'm going to look to both of you and go like, all right, what the fuck do I do? Because it's like, I've got these improv skills I've developed from doing Lieutenant Frank, but you know, at the end of the day, if you're not working in front of a room of paying audience members, you ain't a fucking stand-up comic. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out, all right, how do I bridge that gap in LA, not, you know, in some remote small town where you build and develop your following type things. So I'm going to pick both you guys' brains in the future.
Well, the good news is everybody's going to have to try to figure that out, right?
That's a good point. It's a new world now.
Yeah, there's nobody working right now. I think the Laugh Factory is starting to do shows now with social distancing, but it's
I saw that.
But it's still very weird, you know.
Yeah, it's like Zoom, but with a better stage.
Yeah,
you know, less couches and ferns and refrigerators.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what's? Oh yeah. Yeah, this is
which I'm not. No, let's not tell the joke because people need to watch and see your act. But that was a callback. Refrigerator is a callback to some of your material. So if you want to know what that is,
I know exactly what it is. I used to do a bit.
Of course you do, because you wrote it, and I saw you perform it. And for you, those of you listening right now, yeah, that's your reason. Go watch them on the Amazon. We'll have links in the episode page.
Oh God, those bits. I mean, it seems so superficial almost now, like because like all the shit I'm writing is so much about the moment right now. Like we were just having a laugh, and that's what that was. Just having a laugh.
People need that too. We need to become a better world, but we also need to like fucking have some comedic relief. So yes, we need all of it. Kevin Munroe, you are amazing. You're awesome, brother. I look forward to actually meeting all 6 foot 6 inches of you. I'm talking about his height, everyone. His height, okay.
They got a little
in
weird.
person.
Yeah, well,
I know.
I'd love to meet you too, man. And
Mark, you had to make it weird. You know, we were doing so good, and then you just had to, you know. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, brother.
Yes, indeed. We'll make it happen, and we'll definitely have you on our show. Okay?
You're amazing. You're amazing. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Kevin Munroe, everyone.
It got a little deep with Kevin. I dig it. Really looking forward to meeting him in person. You know, once we got to get over the COVID. Yeah, that's still out there, along with everything else. Oh my God. Hey, you can watch Kevin perform stand-up in Creepy Coffee Movie Time, Season 4, the Blancheville Monster episode. That's streaming now on the Amazon. And any links to stuff mentioned on the show you can find at markromanempire.com. Twitter at the Mark Roman. Yeah, I'm still on Twitter. Instagram at Mark Roman Empire for the podcast, at Vegas 90210 for Lieutenant Frank. And avoid on missing out on cool stuff, join my mailing list, the Mark Roman Empire Census. Sometimes we have special deals and perks for podcast citizens. This week's Sermo Maximus is LT Frank Cameo. One of these weeks, someone's going to do a Sermo Maximus. It may not be this week. It may not be next week. But one of these weeks, someone's going to do a Sermo Maximus. Hey, check your email for this episode's census, but only if you want to win a cool prize to be drawn in next week's cards for Hero Cheers. Didn't get the census email? Go to markromanempire.com, click census, and look for this Sermo Maximus line. Make sure you fill in what I just told you to. I told you once. Go back, re-listen. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Oh man, it's like I'm almost afraid to open up and read any new news. But you know, it's like there's a lot of deep, dark, ugly shit in our alleged civilization. Gandhi noticed. So, I mean, we got to dig it up, address it, flush it out. So that's good. It's excruciating. I say this as a 6 foot tall white dude swimming in my white privilege. What's it like to be, everyone who allegedly got a text while they were a minor from a certain alleged comic? I don't know. What's it like to be, sleeping, taking a nap, but not of this skin color? And I've suddenly got to deal with police that want to kill me. What's that like? I don't know. I'm learning. It's upsetting me. And it makes me realize we really could do a hell of a lot better job here. And everyone who seems to have any kind of authority, I question it. I really question it. Still waiting to hear from Joe Rogan, among others, about the latest news. It'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do from his position, with his platform, with his influence. A lot of people are watching. I guess we'll find out. And until next week, it takes a busker. Remember our fallen buskers: Clownell Munroe, Prince St. Paul, Christopher Dennis, and Alexander Desser. Black Lives Matter. No fear, hero tier.